You've seen them before, or maybe you haven't. Photographs that are so bizarre that there's no explanation for what's seen in them. From a rock that many believe is an alien satellite, pyramids on the moon. Check out these 5 photos that'll freak you out once you spot it. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Black Knight Satellite. There are currently more than 100,000 satellites orbiting the Earth, from space junk to high-tech probes transmitting signals back to Earth. But one of these satellites is thought to be of extraterrestrial origin and has been circling our planet prior to the launch of Sputnik. This mysterious spacecraft is known as the Black Knight Satellite, alleged to be of alien provenance and covered up by NASA for more than 60 years. While most man-made satellites orbit in prograde due to the ease and fuel efficiency of using the Earth's natural gravitational pull, the Black Knight is said to orbit in retrograde, adding to its curious nature. The confounding characteristic of the Black Knight was the fact that it was circling the Earth in polar orbit, a feat not accomplished by man-made satellites until 1960. This type of orbit is typically used for mapping, reconnaissance, and tracking, and often it's done in a sun-synchronous orbit, so that each time the satellite passes a particular spot, it's the same time of day. The combination of retrograde and polar orbits makes this type of satellite stick out, especially in the late 50s, early 60s, when satellite technology was in its nascent phases. And it wasn't just military entities who photographed an unidentified satellite, but also the Smithsonian Observatory at Harvard, as well as the Grumman Aircraft Corporation in New York. There are several pictures circulating on the internet of what is thought to be the Black Knight. These pictures, taken by NASA, are purportedly images of a thermal cover that was dropped during a spacewalk or extravehicular activity on the ISS. During this expedition, one astronaut finished his mission early and was asked to cover the space station's trunnion pins with thermal covers. The astronaut who was asked to complete this as a free-floating task didn't have the cover properly attached to him, losing track of it and letting it float away. When asked later which pin he lost the cover to, he said he couldn't remember and that he was too upset with himself to think about it. NASA claims that the photographs that most believe are the Black Knight satellite are simply images of this thermal cover as it floated away from the space station. There's also a video of the astronauts inside the space station filming and photographing the cover as it floats off. It's entirely possible that NASA's claims are true. There are plenty of similarities between the thermal cover and the images believed to be the Black Knight. There aren't, however, sufficient explanations of the sightings and documentation of the satellites from the 1950s and 60s by numerous government and scientific agencies. What about that? Number 4. Time travel object left in Chinese tomb. A mystery continues to surround the curious excavation of a strange artifact and those who recovered it from the depths of an ancient tomb in China. When archaeologists reportedly recovered a modern-looking, mud-encrusted artifact from a 400-year-old sealed tomb, they were completely astonished. For some, this type of discovery could have only meant one thing. It was evidence of time travel. Was the discovery real? Was it a hoax? Could the find have been an intriguing artifact out of place and time? In 2008, a team of archaeologists had made a puzzling discovery. Reports described the team as comprised of archaeologists and journalists filming a documentary at a dig at a sealed tomb dating to the Ming Dynasty in Shaanxi, southern China. As one of the coffins was being cleared of soil before being opened, a strange thing happened. While removing the soil, a piece of rock dropped off and hit the ground with a metallic sound. When they picked up the object, they thought they'd found some ring, but after removing the soil and getting a closer look at it, they were surprised and shocked to see that it was a watch. The strange metallic object was said to be a small golden ring with a watch face on its front, approximately 2 millimeters thick. Tiny hands on the watch showed the time had frozen at 10:06. Most astonishing of all, the back of the diminutive watch was said to have the word Swiss or Switzerland written in English. So how is this kind of find possible in a tomb that's been sealed for 400 years dating back to the Ming Dynasty? Some researchers cite the possibility of time travelers who came from the future and dropped the modern ring in an ancient location, accidentally leaving their anachronistic possession behind. The evidence for this is scant, but it is an intriguing idea. Could it be that this whole incident is a hoax? The strange mystery of the tiny metal ring watch has remained, thus far, unsolved. There's no clear evidence to prove it was a definite object out of place in time, nor enough facts to condemn it as a mere hoax. What is certain, however, is that it is a story which ignites the imagination and urges us to reconsider how it might have come to be nestled in a Ming Dynasty tomb before its time. Number 3. Solway Firth astronaut. In the summer of 1964, the Templetons were having a good time in Burgh Marsh, situated near Burgh by Sands, overlooking the Solway Firth in Cumbria, England. Jim Templeton then proceeded to take a photograph of his daughter while his wife attended to other things. Little did he know, the photo he took was to be a subject of debate between UFO believers and non-believers, and infidelity detectives. After printing out the picture of his daughter, he observed there was a man in a spacesuit standing right behind his daughter. At the point of taking the photograph, it was just him, his daughter, and his wife. Something obviously wasn't right. He took the pictures to authorities, but they were just not in the mood to talk about anything alien. Less than an hour after his picture was rejected, a local newspaper published the picture, and in no time, it went viral. Hey, that was viral! I hope he made some money to buy aspirin or mitigate the headaches caused by the image theorists later on. For some, though, this was a typical case of infidelity. Hey, it's you, your daughter, and your wife, and out of nothing, another guy enters the picture? So clever of Mrs. Templeton, dressing the other man as a space traveler. Who would have known? Not really everyone was thrilled by Templeton's picture, of course, especially knowing Mrs. Templeton's past. In fact, most believe that the presumed alien in a spacesuit was his wife, who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. There were no digital cameras in those days, so a woman wearing a light blue dress can appear as an alien in a spacesuit. Years later, a missile launch was canceled because two men similar to the one Templeton saw were sighted dressed in a spacesuit nearby. Number 2. An uninvited guest at the Cooper's family dinner. The story goes that sometime in the 1950s, the Cooper family of Texas bought an old house and moved into it. On their first night there, the father took a photo of mom and grandma posing with the two kids at the dining room table. Everyone was happy and smiling. They were living the American dream. But when the photo was subsequently developed, they saw, to their horror, that what looked like a body falling or hanging from the ceiling had materialized behind them. It hadn't been there when the father took the photo, so where had it come from? Was it an apparition of a deceased former tenant of the house? No one knew. Is any part of the story true? Well, no, it's pure fiction, but it's recently become attached to this creepy photo, which has circulated widely online. The story appears to have been invented sometime in 2013. At least I can't find references to it earlier than that, so check if you can. But what about the image itself? It's definitely older than the story. So what's the real story behind it? That's a bit of a mystery. Its original source is unknown. The family looks like they're from the 1950s, but that's just a guess. And various details of the photo suggest that it's been digitally altered, which would indicate a more modern origin. For instance, there's dark vignetting on the corners of the photo. Wikipedia notes that vignetting can be a result of camera settings or lens limitations, but in this case, the vignetting looks too symmetrical, so it's probably an effect created by Photoshop or some other image manipulation software. Also, the shadow of the falling body falls the wrong way in relation to the main light source in the photo. This suggests either that the body has been digitally inserted into the photo, or that it got there as a result of a double exposure. Of course, if the falling body is a ghost, we suppose the shadow argument wouldn't apply because, after all, do the shadows of ghosts follow the laws of physics? Who knows? Number 1. Pyramids on the moon. A grainy image allegedly shows a pyramid on the moon, snapped by one of the Apollo 17 astronauts in 1972. Is this real or fake? Apollo 17 was a 12-day mission to the moon in December 1972. It had a crew of 3 and was the last mission of the Apollo program. All of the images shot during the Apollo 17 mission are online in the Apollo Image Library hosted by NASA. One image in the library has been the subject of debate, as an enhanced version appears to show a triangular object which some say resembles a pyramid on the surface of the moon. The photo is real and can be found on the NASA website listed under magazine 135/G. Internet fact pages and conspiracy websites have used the pyramid photo to generate curiosity and interest, often stating that the photo had never been fully explained. The photo circulated by fact pages is skewed to make the pyramid slightly wider than the original, and a shadowy vignette effect is also added, which also doesn't exist in the original. This photograph is from the official NASA archives of Apollo 17 in the official index of Apollo 17 photographs available for download. And if you go to download it, interestingly enough, you'll find that this photograph is listed as a blank photograph. However, when looking at the photo, you can clearly see it isn't blank. What appears to be a pyramid-shaped object or structure appears faintly in the background. What also adds to the legitimacy of the photograph is there's a blurry, out-of-focus foreground object. This supports the theory that this is a legitimate photograph and not a blank photo as NASA suggests, and that there could possibly be a structure captured on film. Some conspiracy theorists claim that the moon could be occupied by aliens, and that is the reason NASA's not returned since the Apollo missions ended in the 1970s. They suspect findings such as this pyramid and other anomalies could be monuments built by an ancient alien civilization similar to the pyramids and other structures on Earth. Similar anomaly hunters have found what they believe could be pyramids on Mars and other parts of the moon. One popular but far-fetched conspiracy theory claims our ancestors who built the pyramids were visited by superior aliens who helped them construct them. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, The Brilliant, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There will be a link in the description, so make sure you go check that out as well as all of our